Let's get into damn. I had to wear work. I do have to work, but I had to wear my damn shirt I got from this event that Kendrick did in LA during, I think it was the All Star weekend. And he had just released some Nike Cortez. And at the event, he had like a whole workshop to kind of like, you could create your own, I think. And then he broke down the Cortez and it had like the history of the Cortez and oh my god, why he kind of like chose that shoe, and it was just really interesting. And then he did an interview, so I got to see him like really up close and personal. And he did an interview that talked about his process, his creative process in coming up with the concept for the Cortez, who like inspired him and who helped him work on it. And he said that a lot of women and like kids really inspired him during this. And he had a lot of women work on the shoe and he had women in mind when making the shoe. I just think it's really commendable that Kendrick respects women and often praises them. And that's just something that I value because not a lot of rappers, male rappers, do that. Drake thing is it was just a really cool event, and maybe I'll add some clips of it when I break down Damn so that you guys can kind of see that. I think it was really a once in a lifetime opportunity that I was able to go to that I'm really grateful for. So, anyways, Kendrick drops back to the plot. Kendrick dropped Damn on April 14th, 2017, I believe. And on that album, there's two songs that specifically address Drake that are like kind of more obvious than the other ones. Remember, I mentioned I think that Kendrick has used his albums 1 through 5 to address Drake and expose him under the surface. You know, he has surface level topics that he talks about on these songs, and then below the surface, you can also find how he might be addressing Drake as well. So the first one we'll get into is Element, and Kendrick, remember, references this in The Heart Part 4. So it starts off by saying, New Kung Fu Kenny. And this first part is said by Kid Capri. He's a DJ and a rapper. And Kendrick uses him throughout Damn, which has significance to it. But he says, Ain't nobody praying for me. Y'all know what happens on earth stays on earth. And Kendrick also uses the term or like the line "Ain't nobody praying for me" throughout the Damn album, and that's also of significance. But again, we will get to that when we break down the album. The line where he says, "Y'all know what happens on earth stays on earth," that is referencing Timothy 6:7. I think that's how you say it. I'm not a religious person, so I don't really know how to reference the Bible verses, but I'm learning. So if I say it wrong, please correct me. But the Bible verse says, "For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certainly we cannot carry anything out." Basically, like I think Kendrick is saying here, when you're on earth and you're trying to get like success and all this money and these materialistic things, if you don't take the time to work on yourself and if you're not like a good person, those things don't go with you to your grave. You know, what sticks with people and what sticks after you leave is your legacy and how you treated people and how you were as a person. It doesn't matter how much success or money you had because at the end of the day, like it's not really going to go with you. Yeah, you might have money to pass on to your kids or your family, but people aren't really, I don't know. I when I remember people, I don't remember them for how much money they had. I remember them for who they were as a person. Then he goes, I don't and then Kendrick comes in. He says, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a I don't give a So he's just saying like he's ready. I don't he doesn't give a fuck. But I also noted here that Kendrick did an interview with Big Boy, and in the interview he said that he was originally gonna name the Damn album What Happens on Earth Stays on Earth, but it was just too long of a title, so he just named it Damn. And I like to say it the way that Kendrick says it because he's like, damn. And you know, that's how I kind of respond to things. Like maybe if someone doesn't do something right, or if something crazy happens, or if they don't go the path that like maybe they were supposed to or something, you're just kind of like, damn, that's crazy. So it's just relatable. Then into verse 1, He says, I'm willing to die for this ish. I didn't cry for this ish. Might take a life for this ish. I'm trying to censor myself as much as I can because he uses a lot of cuss words and I don't really like using them on here. But when he says, I didn't cry for this ish, so in August 2013, Snoop Dogg, Corrupt, The Game, and there's a couple other rappers, which I think it's interesting that The Game was a part of this. Anyways, they passed the torch to Kendrick of hip hop, and while they were doing that, he was crying. And maybe I'll try to find a clip of it and so I could put it in here. And they showing you that. So, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna mean this. Nigga, you got the torch, nigga. You better run that. Then he says, put the Bible down and go eye for an eye for this ish. This line reminds me a lot of beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching. So yeah, but basically what he's saying is Kendrick was spending time with God and probably trying to like heal himself and what he's gone, the trauma that he's gone through. But this whole like mission to bring back culture to hip hop, to expose the fakes in the industry, and kind of call out like America, the industry, and everyone really is what made him kind of put the Bible down and like go into this mission. Then he says, DOT, my enemy, won't catch a vibe for this ish. A. DOT obviously is spelling out dot. People call him K dot, dot. But this could also be referencing red dots that you see like when you have like a sniper and they have those like laser beams. I think that's what they are before you shoot someone. And those are also seen in the Humble video, which we're going to break down so you'll see what I'm talking about. Then he says, my enemy won't catch a vibe. I think he's specifically talking to Drake here because Drake often gives us vibes. He has the vibes. He's just vibes. So he's saying, you're not going to catch a vibe for this. You're not going to be able to drop a song that has the vibes. No, you're going to have to come with rap hardcore in order to like save your career or establish yourself in this game that you are trying so hard to establish yourself in. I've been stomped out in front of my mama. My daddy commissary made it to commas. So when he says I've been stomped out, he literally means that he was stomped out. In that interview with Big Boy, he said that there was like 3 or 4 guys that came to like beat him up and it was in front of his mom, and when his mom saw and they recognized that his mom had saw, they ran away. Then when he says my daddy commissary made it to commas, so commissary is what you get in prison or jail, and people can put money on your books, which gives you like um the ability to buy commissary. And commissary is like certain hygiene items, certain foods like ramen, honey buns, like food that you actually want to eat, but you have to have money on your books in order to get those things. And so he's saying he's made so much money that he's able to put all of that money, not all of it, but like so much on his dad's books that it's added up to commas. And I just like put a little note, like I really like this line because I can relate to this, not making it to commas yet, but like putting commissary, like money on your dad's books. Then he says, bitch, all my grandma's dead, so ain't nobody praying for me. I'm on your head. And I just feel like, grandmas are normally the ones that like pray for you and are watching out for you. So he's saying, my grandmas are dead. I'm not going to disrespect them. But I feel like when someone's praying for you, you kind of move through life in a different way, not to disappoint those people. But now that they're dead, like he feels a little bit more freedom to go about this battle in a way that's not as saved, maybe, as his grandparents or his grandmas would want him to go or do. Kendrick continues, he says, 30 millions later, no, the feds watching. Auntie on my telegram, like, be cautious. So I know I mentioned before that I believe that Kendrick is working with the feds. And I do know that that's kind of unlike him. Like, why would he be working with the feds if they're going to be the ones that he's kind of exposing? But I only think that because he's trying to save the kids, if like the rumors about what's been going on at the embassy are true, that there's some, I don't want to, put anything out there, but just look into. And so, like, surface level, this could literally mean like he's making so much money now and he is exposing the industry that in America that like the feds are watching him, they're keeping an eye on him because he's a black man that's getting this amount of money and kind of like awakening people. Like if you listen to Kendrick's music, you get a different view and you might learn a little bit. I hope that by doing these breakdowns, people who maybe don't listen to him or haven't really like broken down his music are able to learn stuff, because even someone who does religiously listen to him and has sat and broke it down before, even before these videos, like I still learn more as I was breaking them down. I still learn more. So I hope that we are able to learn. That is the purpose of why Kendrick does this. So he could be saying that the feds are literally watching him. And he says, Auntie on my Telegram, like, be cautious. Telegram is an encrypted messaging service. And so he's saying his aunt is using that to tell him to be cautious. But under that, below surface level, if he is working with the feds, he's kind of telling Drake, like, hey, you better be cautious. The feds are watching. I be hanging out at Tam's. I be on Stockton. I don't do it for the gram. I do it for Compton. So Tam's is a locally known, now nationally known burger shop in LA. And he references or he shows this in Not Like Us. And that's kind of why I pointed out in the 100 video why Game and Drake were showcasing the LA restaurants, because Kendrick kind of puts little nuggets about it in the future. When he says, I don't do it for the gram, I do it for Compton, Drake is always posting on Instagram for attention. Like anytime he does something, he's going to post it on Instagram. But like Kendrick, you don't really see him posting on Instagram. I think he has two posts on his Instagram right now. One is 616 in LA, and the other one is like a picture of him and Dave Free for the PG Lang like promotion. And so he's not really like posting on Instagram, but he's doing stuff for his community. Like you don't really see Drake out in the community. The one time he did was for the God's Plan video. Other than that, you don't really see him. Whereas Kendrick is constantly giving back to the community. He just did like a random speech at a community college graduation. Like he's in his community. I'm willing to die for this ish, and I'll take your effing life for this ish, and we ain't going back to broke family selling dope. So basically, he's just saying, like, I'm willing to die for this. I will take your life. I will end your career just to bring back, like I had mentioned before, the culture, and expose industry slash America. And teaches lessons, honestly. We'll give him 4 things. So Kendrick also talks about how he had like uncles, and I think his dad also maybe had been selling marijuana or drugs to, just have income for him, the family. So he's saying, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going broke, family selling dope. That's why you meanie ass rap ends better know. So meanie is a word that's used a lot in the Bay Area, and it just means like crazy or like maniac or weird. So he's saying, y'all weird ends better know. Then he goes into the chorus. If I gotta slap a pussy, I'ma make it look sexy. If I gotta go hard on the bit, I'ma make it look sexy. So when he says pussy ass in, he's referring to Drake. And when he says like make it look sexy, like low key, he did make it look sexy. He hella came at Drake and it was smooth. It was just a quick here hits for all of his come comebacks or disses at Drake and the industry. And on top of that, like everybody's saying like, "Oh yeah, Kendrick's kind of fine, blah blah blah." He's been fine, but whatever. And that's no disrespect for Whitney. I know that's your man's. I pull up, hop out, air out, made it look sexy. So he's kind of painting a picture of him like pulling up in his car, hopping out with his gun, airing it out, and then getting back in. And when he says air out, I don't think he means literally. Obviously, it's a reference towards that, like killing your career, but it could also be like airing out the secrets, the industry, everything. They won't take me out my element. Nah, take me out my element. So I think, the song is called Element, and I think the whole message that Kendrick is trying to purvey here is his when he's in his element, it's him writing and being able to study the music and really get his thoughts out and, onto paper. And so he's saying, although all this is going on, y'all are not going to take me out of that. Y'all are not going to make me change the way that I approach my music, what I talk about in my music. You're not going to do it. I'm allergic to a bitch in A, an imaginary rich in A. I think here he's kind of saying, like, when he says imaginary rich, I don't think he means literally imaginary, like Drake isn't rich, but Drake, in order to get the money that he does get, he has to do like a certain amount of shows, he has to release a certain amount of albums, he has to do, a certain amount of merch stuff to get the money that he was, signed for in his contract. Whereas with Kendrick, because he owns most of his stuff, he doesn't have to do that. When he does shows and stuff like that, it's because he wants to, but he doesn't need to in order to like get his money. So I think that's kind of what he's like alluding to here. Seven figures ho, that's slimmer than my bitch figure A. And so a a women's figure, if they have like an hourglass figure, it normally resembles the number eight. And seven is below eight. So he's saying 7 million or seven figures. That's slimmer. That's less than, you know, my bitch figure. So it's less than eight figures. Going digital and physical on all, yeah, A. So going back to the Kendrick working with the feds theory, this could literally mean like digital, meaning he has a wire in the embassy, and physical, meaning he has a physical person like as his mole working for him in OVO. And then physical, or sorry, and then it could also mean like digital, he's releasing music and killing, um, people's careers through the music, and then physical as well. Although I don't think like him and Drake have ever like gotten to a physical fight, but then he says, bunch of criminals and money in my phone calls, A. And I just put, who are these criminals? Are they the OV hoes? We okay, we let the A1 fly, relocate, jump on the same G5. So here I think he's saying like, we'll be okay if things happen or go down. We can always just hop on the plane and relocate, go somewhere else. Checking for me heavy because I go, yeah, I go, yeah. So Kendrick is just saying, like, basically the fans and the industry are always checking for Kendrick. They're always wondering when he's going to drop. And kind of like bringing him up a lot. When I was like looking through interviews as I was doing research, a lot of people would like bring up Kendrick when they were talking to other rappers and stuff, which is like interesting, but that's what happens when you're, top of the game. But this could also be that Drake is checking for him. He's looking around to try to get information on what Kendrick is going to do or what he has done, some dirt if he can. And we know that because Kendrick tells us. I feel like I have like a new hairstyle in every video, bro. My hair is just being bugging today. And this is my little fidget toy. It really helps me focus, and my mind's kind of been everywhere today, so just excuse the fidgets. Kendrick continues. He says, they never been ready. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. 100K spread across the flow. Yeah. That's pretty obvious. They're not ready. And he has hella money that he's spreading across the floor. None of y'all fucking with the flow. Yeah, the flow. Yeah. Years in the making, and don't y'all mistake it. So basically, he's saying he's been working at this for years. Not only the Damn album, but his expose in general, and all of his other albums, he's been working at for years. Um, I got him by landslide. We talking about races. Basically, he's gonna win by a landslide. You know this will never be a tie. Just look at their laces. So oftentimes rappers will wear their laces or their shoes with their laces untied, but when your laces are untied, it's also harder to run away. So Kendrick is saying like it's not going to be a tie, and Drake is not going to be able to run away from this. He's going to have to go into it and just be a loser for once. Careers take off, just got to be patient. Mr. 1 through 5, that's the only logic. Fake my death, go to Cuba, that's the only option. Remember I told you he had tweeted Mr. 1 through 5. So we get that line here. This also reminds me of he goes from Mr. 1 through 5 to Mr. Get Off. From his new snippet in the Not Like Us video, we hear Mr. Get Off, I get off at my feet. And so I just can't wait for that to drop so I can break it down because I need to know more. But obviously, I feel like he's telling us, like, Mr. 1 through 5, when he says fake my death, go to Cuba, this is in reference to Tupac because there's a conspiracy that Tupac faked his death and is living in Cuba right now. And so he's saying if things were to get so bad, he would, have to do that. And when I had the dream about Kendrick's pop out show before it happened, I was so scared because people were telling me, like, in the dream, he gets shot and he, like, falls down into a pool. And I was so scared. I was like, bro, is this going to be the moment that he fixes death? Like, please no. But it wasn't that. It was just symbolism for what happened. Thank God. Then he goes into the chorus again, but I didn't include it here. And then last verse, verse 3, he says, Ins thought they wasn't going to see me, huh? Ins thought that K Dot real life was the same life they see on TV, huh? So before, like, Damn and, what came after, Kendrick was pretty quiet. He wasn't really dropping anything. He wasn't really in the public eye. He wasn't really doing much. And people were like, where's Kendrick? Is he going to drop? So he's saying people thought they weren't going to see me. They thought I wasn't going to drop. Then he says people thought K Dot real life is the same as they see on TV. And he's saying, like, Kendrick is never, he's actually in his real life. He's present in his real life. He's living life. And people think that his life isn't the same as, maybe someone who is famous like Drake. He puts on this, I don't want to say persona, but kind of, of being happy and out with people and having a good time. But it's like, are you really happy? Because you're not really spending time with your family like you should. You are spending your time gambling, getting with women. And it's not even that, like, dating around and stuff like that is bad. It's just the fact that, like, one, you go for younger women, some underage, and two, you don't really treat them like anything. It's just kind of like a throwaway type. The next line he says, Ins want to flex on me and be in LA for free, huh? And I think this is a reference towards the Drake and the Game video because they were in LA trying to make it seem like for Drake it was like his city or whatever. He says next time they hit the 10 freeway, we need a receipt, huh? Cause most of y'all ain't real. Most of y'all gonna squill. I think here, like, when someone squills, like a dog, when they squeal, specifically a dog, when they squeal, they, if they get hurt, they make that little, like, noise. And so he's saying you're not real. Like, if we were to pull up on you, you're gonna squeal. If you get hurt, you're gonna be a baby about it. Most of y'all just envy, but jealousy get you killed. So here he's just saying y'all are just jealous of me and maybe my work ethic and my talent. But jealousy comes in the way often of one, your own success, and it can get you, like, killed basically. Most of y'all throw rocks and try to hide your hand. So Drake was steady, throwing shots and then being like, oh, like asking for a future request from Kendrick, or like I said, posting pictures about him or with him. And then he would, like, throw another diss out and then try to apologize. Like, what are you doing? Be about it. Stand on business. Just say his name and I promise that you'll see Candyman. So second time that Kendrick has referenced Candyman, and Candyman is a horror film. You say his name 5 times in the mirror and he shows up to kill you. And Genius also pointed out that Tupac on Troublesome 96 says, say my name 3 times like Candyman. So it could also be a reference towards there. Because it's all in your eyes, most of y'all tell lies, most of y'all don't fade, most of y'all been advised. Last LP, I tried to lift the black artists, but it's a difference between rap black artists and rap whack. Wow. But it's a difference between black artists and whack artists. So, black artists, obviously, Oh, for the last line, when he says last LP, I tried to lift the black artist. Basically, on his last album, he was trying to lift the black artists and empower us and help them out. Whereas, like, Drake doesn't really do that. He takes their work and then dips on them and doesn't really help them out. Then, when he says there's a difference between black artists and whack artists, so whack is a term often used in the black culture to mean like less than or lame. Like, that's whack. It's lame. But it could also mean W could be replacing B in black artists and stand for like white artists as well. It could have a double entendre or double meaning. And then additionally, in 2017, Rolling Stones did an interview with Kendrick, and he states a whack artist is someone who uses other people's music for their approval. People's career go down because they're focused on numbers and not on creativity. Waters down the industry. And that's very true. Like when you're so focused on pumping out music, you're not putting in work or the mental strength and work it takes to be creative, and it changes the industry. Because even like I hear my friends or just people in general say like, oh, it's been 2 years and this person hasn't dropped. Like, 2 years is not even a long time for an artist to not drop an album. Creativity takes time. It takes time to craft good work, good pieces and albums. And for someone who's so focused on numbers, they're not taking that time. They're just doing stuff and then putting it out. I think of it as like Tyler Perry. Like, he's just out here making movies, same plots, nothing new, trash, not taking the time to actually be creative.